You want to fix your finances, but budgets never work for you. You feel limited in what you can and cannot spend, and it always makes you feel like a failure when you can't successfully do it. Does this sound familiar? Truth is, budgeting can be tough, but we're going to introduce you to a method that gives you the freedom to spend every penny while meeting your financial goals. Whether you're a student, 9-to-5 worker, business owner, or just another young adult starting out on your financial journey, zero-based budgeting may be what you need to meet your financial goals. With this budgeting method, saving and investing goals, debt payments, retirement, an emergency fund, and spending on fun stuff are all part of the plan. The idea here is to give every dollar a job. The secret to doing this is to allocate all of your money into needs and wants, as well as short and long-term financial goals. When you do this correctly, your income minus your expenses should be equal to zero by the end of your budgeting timeframe. So if you make $4,000 a month, everything you save, spend, or give should add up to $4,000. Every dollar that comes in has a job, a purpose, or a goal. Nothing is left floating around in your checking account or getting mindlessly spent. It's easy to mistake this type of budgeting for living paycheck to paycheck. The difference, though, is that with zero-based budgeting, all your financial goals are met. You work hard for your money, so you want to keep track of it and keep as much as you can. Let's see if zero-based budgeting could work for you. Starting a zero-based budget. To realistically plan your spending, you must perform a few steps. 1. Know your income. You have to total your paycheck, benefits, and other income sources to get a clear picture of how much money you have to budget with. It's hard to set a plan on giving every dollar a job when you don't know every dollar coming into your pocket. 2. Track your expenses. When you're clear about just how much money you make, track your expenses for a few months. Or, to do it the quick way, grab a couple months worth of bank statements, credit card statements, and any other invoices showing your payments. These statements can also show you budget percentages and averages to help you make better calculations. Knowing how much you spend and on what items you spend your money creates a framework on which you can build your budget, showing you where you can cut back and where you want to allocate more. 3. Categorize your expenses. Now that you've taken the time to look at where your money is going, it's time to identify and prioritize. This is your opportunity to put things into buckets, including your wants and needs, emergency fund, and other savings goals. 4. Allocate funds. This is very important because you want to make it realistic enough to stick to. How much should you allocate to each expense category? Well, this depends on your individual needs, but we recommend the 50-30-20 rule, where you allocate 50% of your income to needs, 30% to everything else that you might want, and 20% towards savings and debt repayment. Remember, every dollar should be accounted for, so once you follow these 4 steps, ensure that there is no money just laying around. If there is, consider putting it towards your long-term savings goals, emergency fund, or to any debt you'd like to pay off faster. But what if you do this budget and you realize your expenses are more than your income? If your balance runs into a minus, then it's time to start pruning, and typically, we recommend starting with food. Food is where most people tend to overspend, and it's the easiest of the big 3 expenses to adjust quickly. But food isn't the only category you can look into to reduce. Assess all of your spending and figure out how to cut back to avoid getting into debt while creating alternative ways to increase your income. Pros and cons. When you have to take a hard look at every transaction in your budget, it's much easier to justify a purchase or identify why another is not serving your best interests and needs to be eliminated. It's also customizable, which, if you're new to managing your own money, means that you can make it fit your personal needs and your monthly financial commitments. If you suffer from money anxiety and worries due to spending or debt that's getting out of control, this budgeting method would help you add some vision to your finances that can't be gotten by just praying for more money or just hoping for the best. It takes the guesswork out of your money management. You get to account for every single dollar and not just let it float around waiting to be spent on an impulse purchase. While there are great advantages to using this method, there are some drawbacks. One thing that can be problematic with the zero-based budgeting is that there are a lot of variable expenses, and if you don't account for your irregular expenses, the budget will potentially leave you short on money. Variable expenses, such as holiday purchases or replacing a broken device, can strain your budget. A simple solution to this is to set aside money specifically for these types of costs. Also, if you have an irregular income, say if you're a freelancer or an hourly worker, the zero-based budgeting method might pose a problem since your income isn't the same each paycheck or it comes in at different times in the month. The solution to this is to tweak your budgeting a little differently. When you're listing your income, work with the least pay or the average amount over the last few months. This is another place where your bank statements may be very helpful. Zero-based versus other budgeting methods. Versus the 50-30-20 rule. First, the 50-30-20 rule loops debts into needs while requiring you to make only minimum payments. The problem is that you can't make maximum progress with minimum payments. Why not use budgeting methods that bring focus, which results in quicker wins and lasting wealth? Plus, no matter where you are in your financial journey, these percentages generally remain the same. If you've got loads of student loan debt or you're free in investing in retirement, the 50-30-20 percentages remain the same. Why not have a budgeting system that evolves based on your income, goals, and life stage? That is what zero-based budgeting can do for you. Versus the 60% solution. In the 60% solution method, all your wants and needs are covered with 60% of your budget. The other 40% gets divided into 10% for retirement, 10% for short-term savings, 10% for long-term savings, and 10% for fun stuff. First, that's a lot of dividing. Secondly, we want you to save, but if you've got lots of debt, putting 40% of your money into savings might not be the best use of your funds. What you should be thinking about is how to destroy that debt. Plus, this method falls short of accounting for every budgeter's individual situation. Versus reverse budgeting. With reverse budgeting, it's the opposite. Rather than following the traditional set aside money for spending first and saving the rest, reverse budgeting allows you to save and invest first and spend the rest. In as much as we love the emphasis on spending first, this method locks you into a strategy that might not suit your current money goals. What if you're focused on kicking debt out first? Zero-based budgeting would give you a bit more flexibility in this case. Versus set it and forget it method. The set it and forget it budgeting method only helps you see where your money should go, but it doesn't account for where your money actually goes, which is a fantastic way to overspend. Once again, transparency is key here. While the set it and forget it method gets you into an automated finances situation that is key to building wealth, when you're first trying to manage your money or get out of debt, zero-based budgeting would provide more insight into where your money is going and how much you're spending. But is zero-based budgeting right for you? That's only something you can answer. Hopefully, the information from this video will help you make a more informed decision. The goal is to find a budget that works for you. So if the zero-based budget doesn't fit your lifestyle, then consider other options like the envelope system, where you use envelopes to allocate money to different categories, or the 50-30-20 budget, where you use predetermined percentages to guide your categories. Ultimately, the best budgeting method and tool for you will be the one you can stick to the most consistently. Tell us in the comments section, does this budgeting method sound like something that would work for you? Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you've gotten any value from it, and subscribe to this channel to encourage us to create more awesome videos. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one.